Hausdorff, Legal Director at the UK Lawyers for Israel. Thank you for joining us today, Natasha. First of all, briefly, if you will, your reaction to what's happened yesterday.
Well, thank you. First, Samaya, let me please extend my condolences to all of the bereaved families of the fallen and the murdered Israelis in the hours since yesterday morning. Over 600 civilian deaths so far. My wishes also go to the injured for a swift recovery. And I would like to strengthen the resolve of the families of the missing and kidnapped. We are seeing unprecedented support for Israel on the world stage, including, of course, from the UN Secretary General. But I think it's extremely important to make sure that people remember this in a month from now, because this will take a long time to be resolved, as Professor Clark was just indicating.
I was looking at the statement that you released, and we've just been discussing as well. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's been talking about Iran's potential involvement. We've been talking to our experts. The UK Lawyers for Israel have also called out Iran.
Yes. But perhaps before we even get to Iran, I think your viewers need to be aware that, of course, Hamas has self-governance in the Gaza Strip. Israel withdrew under international pressure in 2005. That area has been ethnically cleansed of Jews. And within no time, this became an enclave of Palestinian terror. Now, the world should have wised up to Hamas barbarism in 2006 when it took control of the Gaza Strip by throwing its opposition Fatah members off of the roofs of buildings. And of course, we saw a continuation of its torture and murder of political opponents in the Strip. That was violence against its own people. So the medieval, barbaric scenes of its violence yesterday against Israeli men, women, children, elderly, and disabled cannot come as any surprise. And I wonder how many people who advocated talking to Hamas, accepting them as elected representatives of the Palestinians in Gaza, how many of them are willing to admit their guilt for the scenes that we witnessed today? Hamas.
There is no doubt about the extraordinary brutality with which Hamas has targeted Israel. Everyone was shocked by the scenes as they unfolded, and still yet we don't know how widespread this is yet, because of course we know that there are still battles carrying on. Some people say that Hamas is a resistance movement and Gaza has been kept under a blockade for 16 years, and this is an inevitable reaction.
I'm sorry, that couldn't be further from the truth. Hamas is just like ISIS, and the supporters of Hamas, like those we saw celebrating on the streets of London yesterday, which was also just mentioned, has to be called out. To answer your question on Iran, it is plain that this could not have been executed without Iranian involvement, and this must be addressed by the international community, that the terrorist organizations that launched this attack are funded and armed by Iran, which promotes terrorist activity against Israel and against Israeli and Jewish targets all over the world. And there are tens of billions of dollars which have been released in recent months to the Ayatollahs in Iran from accounts that had been frozen by international sanctions. These sanctions have been overridden, and these injections of billions of dollars are enabling Iran to massively increase its support for terrorism. Now, regrettably, the UK has delayed the prescription of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, despite their responsibility for worldwide terrorism and also their plans of murder and kidnap against civilians in the UK. So the UK must act against Iranian tentacles that cause bloodshed all over the Middle East and also threaten us in Britain. And it's plain that this is the cause of what we have been witnessing over the last 48 hours,
I
not.
think the other thing as we've been discussing, there has been widespread condemnation, and there's huge concern about the spillage over into the wider region. Where is the solution to this? Where are the opportunities for negotiation?
There simply are none. And I hope that the pictures that have been circulated and the reality of what we have witnessed indicate that there is nothing to discuss with ISIS-like terrorists that are intent on genocide. This is something that is perhaps difficult to come to terms with, but the refusal to do so over decades now is what has, in no small part, led to the horrific scenes and the bloodshed that we have witnessed. The security concessions that Israel has been pressured into making have led to this, in conjunction with the Iranian involvement, which we have already discussed. And that is a very important realization for Israel's Western allies and any enemies of this sort of barbarity to internalize. It's important also because what begins with Israel and with the Jewish people rarely ends with them. I mentioned the plots against British citizens that have also been, with the help of the Israeli intelligence services, uncovered, and lives have been saved here. But the same perpetrators, the Iranian leadership, this is not the people of Iran who are suffering also immensely under the Ayatollahs, but the same leadership that targeted British citizens here on British soil have also undoubtedly had the most significant hand in what we have seen. And that is the important message to get across. What is being said, forgive me, what is being said, the misinformation about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which these scenes, I trust, show to be utterly false. That has been enabling Iranian terrorism, Iranian-backed terrorism, both from Hamas, the other terrorist organizations that were mentioned, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and of course Hezbollah. There have already been.
We really do have to leave it there. I'm so sorry. Natasha Hausdorff, thanks very much indeed. We've run out of time.